Okay, I could sit here and preach every little thing wrong with Sonic R. However, I'm sure that if you're watching this, you probably already know why this game has a bad reputation. One of those things is character balance. There are many characters that are outright broken, like Super Sonic and Metal Knuckles, and there are pathetically useless characters, such as Egg-Robo and Tailstall. I set out to prove this in my most recent Sonic R video, where I beat the entire game with Egg-Robo in set conditions. I picked him at the time because from my little experience in actually playing Sonic R, I was pretty confident that Egg-Robo was actually the worst character in the game. However, I got thinking when told by a commenter and a speedrun moderator that Tailstall is actually worse. So, to set it in stone right now, let's compare the two and see which is the worst character to play as. Let's peep this out. The first thing to look at is the two speeds. Funnily enough, they're pretty much the same. There might be a negligible difference, but I don't happen to see it. Next, while the two don't have any worthwhile abilities to discuss, Tailstall can float over water and jump, whereas Egg-Robo can only walk over water for a short distance and can't jump. While things are looking good for Tailstall, one thing that really screws him over is his handling and turning speed. You see, while Egg-Robo doesn't have particularly amazing turning, it's serviceable and can be worked around if necessary. Tailstall's handling, however, is awful. It is borderline impossible to move efficiently with him because of how slow he turns. It genuinely nullifies all the positives he has to begin with. And speaking of his positives, they're not even that useful to begin with. For instance, where is it useful to float over water? You might say, oh, a lot of places. And you'd be right. However, why do I need to float over water when I can just set the weather to snow and walk on the ice? But then you might say, oh, but surely jumping has to be useful in some places. Without including any water spots, I can think of one. The spring in Regal Ruin that nets you a challenge coin. But, say it with me, who do you unlock in Regal Ruin? Egg-Robo. How about this shortcut here? You have to jump over it. Nope, you can walk over it. Tailstall's positives are so minute that all he really has are downsides. It is more advantageous to play as Egg-Robo over Tailstall. Now that debate is cleared up, I'd like to point out a question that a few of you probably have. Wouldn't Amy be worse than both of them? She's slower, and she has a lot of the negatives that hamper both Tailstall and Egg-Robo. This is true, and in a vacuum, Amy would most likely be my number one candidate for worst character. However, what I can't overlook is her position in the game's two tiers. To summarize from last time, the game puts all the starter characters and Eggman in one tier, with all the other unlockables in another tier. Whenever you start a race, the game looks at what tier character you are and puts you in with the other racers of that tier. This is to avoid matching Knuckles with Super Sonic and vice versa. Even with this, there's an even larger problem with the high tier's AI. They use shortcuts significantly more than low tier characters. This makes going up against even Egg-Robo challenging, as he can use the same shortcuts you can. Since Amy is in the lower tier, she never has to face off with the best characters, while Egg-Robo and Tailstall do. This is why she isn't the lowest character on my list. Now that we have established who the worst character is, I'll show you the results of my Tailstall only challenge. The rules remain the same as last time. The first thing I must do is unlock Tailstall, and I can only use him for the rest of the run. The game must be completed 100%, and every collectible must be gathered in one run, so no revisiting a stage to collect the emeralds separately. Stages can be done in any order, but linear order is preferred. Play on hard difficulty. I ain't no bit, and lastly, the run ends when getting first place in Radiant Emerald. With the rules out of the way, let's get into the challenge. First thing we need to do is unlock Tailstall. While you don't need to use Amy like I did for this, it does make it a little more challenging, so I incentivize it at the very least. From there, we're off. Resort Island is first, and just like the previous challenge, it's pretty easy. After all, it is the start of the run. After that, we have Radical City, which is even easier considering we don't need to collect the challenge coins again. Another quick stage. Second verse, same as the first. Regal Ruin is really difficult. Unless we're extremely precise in our routing and movement, we'll never succeed here. However, it isn't impossible, and by using the same route we did last time, we can barely squeak out a victory. So far, this challenge hasn't been nearly as difficult as I thought it would be. In fact, it's been pretty much on par as difficult as the Egg-Robo video. Following this trend, Reactive Factory can't be nearly as bad as I think it will be, right? Reactive Factory is impossible. Okay, impossible might be a bit of hyperbole on my part, but I just find this so unbelievably difficult that I don't want to even keep trying. I've attempted this for hours and I haven't even gotten close to potentially winning. It's clear that after all is said and done here, there is no way this current route will work. I cannot complete Reactive Factory under these conditions. So, after a lot of thinking and a lot of contemplating, I decided to come up with a new route. After plenty of thinking and plenty of trial and error, this is the new route that will lead me to victory. First thing we do after getting Tailstall in this new route is to complete Reactive Factory. Since this stage is our biggest obstacle, we have a better shot at winning if we get this out of the way early, so it can't cause us any more problems later down the line. Not only that, but we also only have to deal with the base characters when taking on Reactive Factory first, which means we don't have to deal with any unlockable characters taking shortcuts and ruining our plans. Next up is Regal Ruin, which I thought would be much harder due to facing Mecha Knuckles. Which, I mean, it still took me quite a few tries, but it didn't take me all that long, especially when he would just get stuck sometimes. It was really weird. For some reason, Mecha Knuckles just likes to get stuck in a lot of places. But regardless, we use that as well as taking advantage of rubber banding by taking the slow routes at the beginning of the race and taking the fast ones at the end. And this made things a lot more doable. While I'd like to say the run only got harder, it actually was just the opposite. Resort Island was surprisingly easy, and then we finish off with Radical City, which only has us collecting the 2 emeralds, so it's really easy. And just like that, the main 4 stages are completed. The run went really smoothly, and it only really got difficult at Regal Ruin. Everything else was actually pretty easy. All that was left was to finish this once and for all at Radiant Emerald, against the titan that is Supersonic. This was going to be a battle, but I'll be sure to... we're finished already. Oh. After using the counter-drifting exploit we learned from Ninputs last time, Supersonic was taken down without much trouble. And just like that, the challenge is finished. What originally seemed like an impossible playthrough ended up becoming one of the easier runs I've covered on the channel. Now, this wasn't easy per se, but it was far from the challenge that I expected considering the trouble I went through in the Egg-Robo video. But hey, who knows, maybe one day I'll revisit this and attempt Reactive Factory with the previous conditions. But for now at least, it looks pretty impossible. So, what's next? Well, I might have a challenge or 2 in brainstorming for Sonic R, but beyond that, I'm pretty clueless. I might even take suggestions in the comments if you have an idea, so be sure to leave it down there. However, with that being said, I hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you next time. Goodbye! Oh wait, no, I think I do the skip at the very end of this lap.
No clue. Try it out. See what works. Also, I've been promoted to Silver League number 2. League level Silver 2.
Oh.